The third episode of Stranger Things Season 2 is titled The Pollywog. The episode begins with Dustin determined to keep the peculiar pollywog-like creature he found in the trash can at the end of the previous episode, so he hides in the ghost trap that he was using as an accessory to his Ghostbusters costume. When his mother inquires about the screeching noises coming from the ghost trap, he tells her that he had rigged the trap with a motor so that it looked like he caught a ghost inside it. He then goes to his room, places the pollywog in his turtle cage, and proceeds to feed it a bar of Three Musketeers chocolate, which inspires him to name the creature D'Artagnan. Later, a flashback shows Eleven navigating the woods, surviving on her own, when she spots Hopper leaving food in a box for her. She comes out of her hiding and shows herself to Hopper, giving him her seal of trust. Hopper takes her in and starts living with her, treating her like his own daughter. Hopper brings her to his old granddad's house, which he mainly uses for storage. The house is a mess, but Hopper and Eleven put on some music, start cleaning the place up, and make it worth living in again. Hopper sets 3 ground rules for Eleven to follow. These include always keeping the curtains drawn, not opening the door for anyone unless she hears Hopper's signature knock, and not leaving the house under any circumstances, especially during the day. Eleven, however, after getting fed up with Hopper's promises that she'll see Mike soon, decides to walk out of the house during the day. Meanwhile, Bob offers to take Will to school in the morning when Joyce can't find her keys and is running late. He tells him a story about Mr. Baldo, a character who kept haunting him in his nightmares. He asks Will, "Do you know how it stopped?" "One night, I stood my ground when Mr. Baldo came again and shouted, 'Go away! Go away!' After that, Mr. Baldo never showed his face again." Dustin proudly brings D'Artagnan to school to showcase it to his friends. Attempting to borrow 5 books on reptiles and amphibians from the library, he finds himself thwarted by the librarian's limit of 5 books per borrower. Resorting to a little trickery, Dustin ends up stealing the books after deceiving the librarian. He explains to his friend that he's christened the creature D'Artagnan, affectionately calling him Dart for short. Surprisingly, despite the general attraction of reptiles to light, Dart exhibits aversion and discomfort towards it, sparking Dustin's speculation about a potential new species discovery. Eager to delve deeper into this mystery, the kids unanimously decide to seek Mr. Clark's expertise regarding Dart's peculiar traits. At the Hawkins lab, Chief Jim Hopper digs deeper into the government's involvement in the supernatural events plaguing the town. He confronts Dr. Owens, the lab's director, demanding answers about his experiments and the rotting of the pumpkin fields. Hopper tells him that the rotting fields fall directly near the lab. Owens, however, remains tight-lipped and warns Hopper to stay out of their affairs, leaving the chief frustrated and determined to uncover the truth. Bob tells Joyce that he rewatched the video from the VHS tape of Halloween, and he saw some older boys picking on Will, which makes Joyce very angry, and she decides to watch the tape herself. Not being much of a tech enthusiast, she has trouble making it work, so she calls Bob at work for instructions. She is finally able to connect the tape to her TV with Bob's help, and she starts watching the tape. Joyce sees the dark, shadow-like creature's outline on the screen. She grabs a white paper and marker and puts the paper on the TV screen. She draws the outline of the creature on the paper and quickly goes to find the drawing Will made, earlier in the season. They both match, and Joyce looks alarmingly at them one by one while slowly coming to the realization that Will might be in trouble again. Afterward, Will tells Mike that he had seen a creature that looked just like Dart in the Upside Down, which prompts Mike to run and stop Dustin, Lucas, and Max just as they are about to show Dart to Mr. Clark. Mike closes and grabs the box and quickly takes it inside an empty room. The boys lock Max outside, who repeatedly asks to be let in, contemplating what to do from here on. Mike tells his friends that they should take the creature to Hopper since it comes from the Upside Down, and is thus quite dangerous. Dustin, however, who had become deeply attached to the creature, refuses to let anyone hurt it. As he opens the box Dart is being kept in, Dart undergoes a rapid and alarming growth spurt, which scares the kids. Dart swiftly makes a break for freedom, prompting the kids to chase after it in a flurry of activity. Meanwhile, Eleven encounters a woman and her young daughter, and inquires about the location of the school. The woman tells Eleven that the school is about a mile away, and proceeds to query Eleven about her parents' whereabouts. Employing her telekinetic abilities, Eleven creates a disturbance by causing a swing to move violently, providing a diversion before slipping away. Arriving at the school, she stumbles upon Mike and Max having a conversation in the gym. Witnessing Max skate around Mike, vying for inclusion in their group, Eleven experiences a surge of jealousy. In a moment of impulsivity, she trips Max from her skateboard, causing her to fall heavily. As Mike grabs Max's hand to help her stand up, Eleven departs from the school grounds overwhelmed by jealousy and hurt. After an exhaustive search throughout the school, it's Will who stumbles upon Dart hiding in one of the bathroom stalls. Hastily informing the others of his discovery, Will moves to approach Dart, only to be startled backward by its sudden screech, sending him spiraling back into the Upside Down. There, he encounters the ominous, shadow-like creature looming closer. Panicked, Will attempts to flee, but a memory of Bob's advice flashes in his mind. Halting his escape, Will stands his ground, adamantly commanding the shadow creature to depart. Yet, to his horror, the dark, misty entity begins to infiltrate Will's body through his mouth and nose, culminating in an eerie and chilling conclusion to the episode. This concludes the third episode of Stranger Things Season 2. The fourth episode of Stranger Things Season 2 is titled Will the Wise. The episode begins with the aftermath of Will's unsettling vision from the previous installment. Concerned for her son's well-being after witnessing his distressing drawings, Joyce hastily contacts the school. Upon learning that the AV club has been canceled, she rushes to Will's school, fearing he may be in trouble. There, she and the other children discover Will standing amidst a field, appearing disoriented, just as the ominous shadow monster seemingly infiltrates his body. Will snaps back to reality upon hearing Joyce's repeated calls, identifying herself as Mom. Embracing him tightly, Joyce guides him into her car and drives him home. At the buyer's residence, Joyce implores Will to be forthcoming with her, emphasizing her inability to assist him if he withholds the truth. Despite Will's attempts to deceive her, Joyce discerns the truth and presents his drawings as evidence. Encouraging him to confide in her, Joyce insists on no more secrets between them. Will then admits that the shadow monster came after him, and despite his efforts to repel it, he found himself unable to shake its pervasive presence. In response, Joyce reassures him of her unwavering protection and enfolds him in a worried embrace. Meanwhile, Eleven arrives home late at night, and Hopper, who is understandably mad, shouts at her. Expressing his frustration, Hopper admonishes Eleven, emphasizing the care he provides by clothing, feeding, and educating her, yet lamenting her failure to adhere to 3 simple rules. Consequently, Hopper grounds Eleven and tells her that there will be no Eggos and TV for a week, much to her displeasure. Eleven, in turn, tells Hopper that he's just like Papa, comparing him to Dr. Brenner, which infuriates Hopper further. He then confiscates the TV and calls her a brat. Retreating into her room, Eleven slams the door shut, prompting repeated demands from Hopper to open it, causing her to unleash a cry of anguish, inadvertently shattering all the glass in the house with her powers. This incident further strains the already fragile relationship between Eleven and Hopper. The unlikely alliance of Nancy and Jonathan, both agreeing that they owe it to Barb and Barb's parents to expose the truth about Barb's death, decide to visit Barb's parents to gather more information and evidence. Their investigation takes a dark turn when they are sitting in a park, and they realize that they are being watched by mysterious figures who seem to be monitoring their every move. They decide to walk out of the park calmly and make their way to Jonathan's car, but the car does not start. One of the people following them knocks on the window and offers them a lift, while they look around to realize they're surrounded. Meanwhile, when he is about to take a shower, Will tells Joyce that the water is too hot. When she tells him that it is important to get his temperature back up, Will ominously replies, "No, he likes it cold," and departs, leaving Joyce deeply worried about her son. Joyce calls Hopper and tells him to hurry over to her place. Hopper and Joyce both sit Will down and ask him to explain how he knows that he likes it cold. Will explains that it's as if there are memories in the back of his mind. But they're not old memories, but rather now memories happening right now. Will has trouble explaining further, so Joyce tells Will that he doesn't have to use words. She hands him a piece of paper and tells him to draw whatever he's seeing and feeling on the paper. Intensely focused, Will starts drawing lines on the paper using his crayons, as Joyce and Hopper try to decipher his drawings. Joyce realizes that the black lines that Will is drawing are connected. They lay out the drawings on the floor and try to piece them together like a puzzle. Hopper realizes that Will is trying to draw vines that are expanding and killing, so he quickly walks out the door, looking determined. Meanwhile, 11 stumbles upon an attic within the house, filled with numerous labeled boxes. Among them, she uncovers a box marked Hawkins Lab, within which lies a file bearing the name Terry Ives. As 11 delves into the contents of the file, she begins to unravel Terry's history, ultimately realizing that Terry is her biological mother, and her real name is Jane. The file provides clues indicating that Terry, like 11, was subjected to experiments at the Hawkins Lab. Discovering a photograph featuring Terry and Dr. Brenner, 11 resolves to locate her long-lost mother. Equipping herself with a radio, she tunes it until static fills the air, dons a blindfold, and enters a trance-like state, transporting herself to the void, where Terry sits in a catatonic state. Desperately reaching out to her, 11's attempts to make contact are fleeting, as Terry vanishes upon her touch, leaving 11 on her knees overcome with tears and longing. Nancy and Jonathan are captured and taken to the Hawkins Lab, where Dr. Owens finds them. He tells them that the men who did everything to Barb in this town are gone, and he's the one who has to cover it all up and keep it from falling into the wrong hands, while also preventing the Upside Down from spreading. He tells them to keep their mouth shut, as the Upside Down and its weeds can be very dangerous if they fall into the Soviets or any wrong hands. Nancy, however, in a stroke of brilliance, recorded the conversation. As they depart from the lab in their vehicle, Nancy tells Jonathan, "Let's destroy this lab," showcasing her determination to take action. After Mike tells the group that Dart may be the key to helping Will, Dustin is overcome with guilt and decides to return home in search of Dart. Upon his arrival, Dustin discovers that Dart is missing from his cage. Startled by screeching noises emanating from the adjacent room, he investigates, only to be confronted with a harrowing scene. Dart has undergone another growth spurt and has transformed into a miniature Demogorgon, devouring his cat. This concludes the 4th episode of Stranger Things Season 2. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please be sure to comment, hit the like button, and subscribe.